Ugh! Are you sick of the doubters and the naysayers telling you who you can't be and what you can't do? Well, I've got 5 suggestions on how you can stop the noise. I am Constance Howard, executive coach on a mission to help women gain unstoppable confidence. Before we get into today's episode, I want you to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified anytime any new videos come out. Now, let's get started. How many times have you heard people say, "What is she doing now? Who does she think she is?" They're usually talking about someone who has decided to make a change in their lives, whether in their career or their personal lives. I've heard it a time or two in my career, especially when I decided to leave TV news and to start something totally different. No doubt you've faced that kind of criticism or trash talk a time or two. Here's the deal. If you're on the road to becoming, whether it's becoming a stronger you, a more authentic you, or you're on the road to becoming taking a different career route, buckle up. Because that's when the naysayers, the doubters, and the haters come out of the woodwork and they start talking about you, trying to stop you, really. Here's the deal. Most of the people doing the talk are stuck in their own lives. So I want to give you 5 things that I think that you need to do in order to shut out the noise. Stop the noise. Stop the trash talk. Well, I shouldn't say stop, because you're never going to be able to stop them. You'll only be able to handle it better. You'll only be able to focus in on what you want and leave the trash talking to the trash talkers. Okay? So let's get started. Number 1, I want you to realize that everyone is not always going to be supportive of what you're trying to do. Some of the folks who are not supportive are the naysayers and the doubters, no doubt. But there'll be some people around you who really love and care for you, who are concerned about you, concerned about the changes that you're making in your life. You have to know and trust that they have your best interest at heart, and thank them. But at the end of the day, you have to follow your own heart. So don't let the folks who really love you and care for you stop you. They're just concerned for you and want your best, and they can't see the vision you have for yourself. Okay, so the 5 suggestions that I'm going to give you, I'm calling it the wiser method. Here's why. W, I want you to know what you want. Identify what you want. You can't go anywhere without knowing exactly what you want. What kind of life do you want? What kind of person do you want to become? Those are really critical questions. And listen, it's going to take you a while to answer these questions because you need to go in detail. What kind of life do you want? How often do you want to go on vacation? Where do you want to live? What kind of house do you want to live? What kind of work do you want to do? What is it that you want? I talk a lot about when I left TV news because that was such a drastic change. I had spent nearly 40 years in that career. So when I sat down to really put on paper what kind of life I wanted, what I wanted in my life, who I wanted to become, it took a minute. It took a minute for me to really focus in detail, so much so that I could paint a picture of my life. I could close my eyes and I could visualize the life that I wanted, the person I wanted to become. And that's what I want you to do. That's the number 1 thing. Identify and know what you want. Who do you want to become? Number 2, this is critical. Know your why. There was a time when I sold real estate. One of the things they taught us in real estate is to ask the person buying the house 5 questions, and it was always why. And so the person would sit down and say, I'd say, why do you want to buy a house? And they'd say, because I want to stop paying rent. Oh, okay. Why do you want to stop paying rent? And we kept going deeper and deeper and deeper into their why until we got to really what was the fire in their belly for wanting to buy a house. So that's my question for you. What is the fire in your belly that's fueling your desire to change? What is it? And you can only get there after you ask yourself why 5 times. Why do you want to make this change? Why do you want to become the person you said you wanted to become? Why? What is that deep core? What is that deep reason that touches the very core of you? That is so tied to your identity. Why? One of my whys when I left TV news is I wanted control over my life. I wanted to live my life as opposed to living a life according to 6 o'clock news. Whenever the news came on, I was always there. I was always reacting. I was never enjoying life for myself. That was one of my big whys. The reason why you want to know your why is because that will pull you forward. You'll have days when you go, oh, am I going to do this again? Do I have to do whatever it is I have to do to become? Do I have to do that? Yes, if you want that life you dream of. And that's what your why does. When you have clarity on what it is you want, who you want to become, and you spell that out in detail, then your why will wake you up in the morning. Your why will keep you up at night studying for if you have to go back to school or gain a certificate or whatever it is. Your why will say, you can do it. You can do it because this is so important to you. So number 1, I want you to identify and know in detail who you want to become, what you want to achieve. Number 2, why do you want to become that person? Why do you want to achieve that goal? And number 3, this is so critical. I talk about this all the time. I know for those of you who have been watching me for a while, you probably, when I say what number 3 is, you're going to go, oh my gosh, not that again. It's your inner circle. Who is in your inner circle? Because that circle of people will push you forward. They will challenge you when you want to backslide. They will encourage you. They will, give you the support, the emotional support. And they'll give you support in terms of like if you need, contacts or whatever. Those are the people who have your best interest at heart. They're not the naysayers who are telling you you can't. Your inner circle is telling you you can. You can. You can achieve that and more. That's your inner circle. And without that strong inner circle around you, you'll drift back to those naysayers. You'll listen to the crap that they're saying, and you'll buy into that crap. Your naysayers won't allow you to do, your inner circle won't allow you to do that. You won't even pay attention to your naysayers if you have a strong core of people around you. Researchers say that you increase your chances of success simply by putting the right people around you. And it takes time to develop that inner circle. You want to look for people who not only support you, but the people who will give you the hard, cold facts. They'll tell you when you're wrong. They'll call you out on your BS. They'll connect you to the right people if they have those connections. Those are the people who you want to be around. Not those people who are whining about who did what and all that kind of stuff. And did you see the latest Bachelor? Who cares about that? When you're talking about your future and who you are becoming, who cares about that? And I'm not saying that your inner circle can never just kind of what we call kick it. I don't know if young kids say that anymore. There'll be times when you'll just be kicking it. You'll have a glass of wine and you'll be laughing and talking, or you'll go out to dinner or whatever. But your inner circle will never let you take your eye off the ball. They'll always be asking you, where are you in this? What's the next step? What are the next steps that you have to take? How can I help you? What did you achieve this week? What challenges are you facing? They want to know that information, because if there's any way that they can help you, they will. And those are the kinds of people who you want around you. The reason why you have that strong inner circle is because they have access to you. They have access to you, your time. And time is something you're never, ever going to get back. So don't waste it on those naysayers and doubters, because that's a waste. That's a waste of time. They don't have access to you. They don't have access to your attention. They don't have access to, really touching your heart and soul, right? You know how you get on social media and you start reading things about yourself, and you can't even see who you are in the comments that they're making, because they're just so crazy and so negative. Well, when you have a strong inner circle, those comments are like, you're like Teflon. Those comments, if you see them, they just brush off. They bounce right off. And that's what you want. The who she thinks she is, let it bounce off. Or do what Blue Ivy, right? That's Jay-Z and Beyonce's daughter, when she first started dancing at her mom's concerts. And people had so much to say about this little 13-year-old girl who was in front of on stage in front of millions of people, and there were negative things said about her. And she said, "I'm only going to use their negative comments as inspiration, as motivation." That's what you need to do. Those naysayers and doubters, you're just my motivational team. Nothing more, nothing less. And you need to keep it moving. Self-care. There's nothing like taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically for you not to care what the naysayers have to say. Self-care. And I'm not talking about, I'm going to get on my soapbox again. I'm not talking about mani and petties. A lot of times people think that is self-care. That to me is self-maintenance. It's like getting an oil change in your car. You have to maintain your car. I'm talking about real self-care where you set boundaries, healthy boundaries in your life, so that people know you can go only so far. Setting boundaries of taking time off, of reflecting where you're going, who you're becoming. Figuring out how you can establish routines in your life that help eliminate some of the stress in your life, that prevent some of the burnout in your life. That's self-care. Self-care is putting your needs and priorities first so that you have resources and a reservoir that you can take care of others. Self-care is positive talk that you always have in your mind at any given time, right? That loop that's going on in your mind, instead of it kicking into who do you think you are, and you can't do this, and you're this, and you're that. That negative loop needs to be positive, so that when it clicks on, it's only telling you, you are strong, you are resilient, you are smart. You're going to make it. You know, I have a loop in my mind that's my mantra. And whenever I'm facing something, whenever I have a low moment, you know, that mantra will kick in and it will push me further. I'll remember my why. And make sure you have your why somewhere written down so that if you find yourself, you know, out and about and you're hit with a moment of self-doubt, you can read your why. You can go to your mantra. Tell yourself, you are strong, you're a survivor. You're more than a survivor. Tell you, you know, your mantra has to tell you and remind you that you're a winner. When you have all of that in your mind, what do you care about the naysayers? What do you care about the naysayers? All they can do is talk. And at some point, they exhaust themselves. And that's what you want. You want them to exhaust themselves and move on to somebody else. Because here's the thing about naysayers. They're always sitting along the sidelines looking for someone, anyone to criticize so that they don't pay attention to their own lives and where they are in their own lives. I touched on my final one. The E. E is for eliminate, and eliminate is that self-talk. Eliminate negative self-talk. Create that mantra that will remind you, again, of who you are, who you're becoming, and where you're going. The talk that's inside you has to overcome the talk that's outside you. It has to out-talk the talk that's outside you. And finally, I want you to redefine what success looks like. You know, I grew up at least, during a time when success was you had a good job, you had a house, you had a couple of kids. That was success. You know? What does success look like for you? Maybe it's not owning a house, and that's okay. Maybe it's not a traditional 9 to 5. Why does success have to be that? It can be whatever you define it. Success is what's making you happy. Success is what leads you to a life of purpose and passion, not the material things you have. Not whether you have, you know, a gazillion number of friends hanging all over you, because most of them are fake friends. You know, not whether or not you have thousands of likes. That may not be what you see as success, and that's okay. The best way to stop the noise is to define for yourself who it is you want to become, what it is you want. Why do you want it? Do you have an inner circle around you who will support you and love you and challenge you? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of not just the outside, but the inside? Your mind, your emotions, your heart. Are you taking care of yourself in those respects? Are you eliminating that horrible self-talk that tells you you can't? And lastly, do you know what success looks like for you? Not everybody wants a ton of money in the bank. They're okay with it. I have a chiropractor who reminds me every time I see him. His goal is to die with no money. He wants to pour out and give. He doesn't want to take in. So that's his definition of success. If he, at the end of his life, can look back and see all the people he's helped, not all the money he's collected. What's your definition of success? Do you know it? Do you know who you are, who you're becoming? Do you know what kind of life you want? Do you have an inner circle? Do you have a strong inner circle? What's your self-talk like? Those are the questions that will kill any naysayer or a doubter. You see, the doubters and the naysayers are only able to pierce your heart and in your mind when you don't know who you are. If your doubters tell you, if you're 5'5" and your doubters tell you that you're 4 feet, what do you care? You know it's not the truth. And that's what this list will give you. They will give you the clarity on where you're going, what it is you want. That's what this will do. Best way to silence your naysayers and your doubters, know who you are and where you're going. Does it take time to do this? Yes, it does. It takes time and it takes reflection. But once you do it, you're almost creating a bubble around yourself. I'm not going to say that all the time, 100% you will be able to ignore what the naysayers are talking. There'll be times when something will pierce through and, it'll hurt your feelings or it'll give you pause, but you'll get back on track. Why? Because you know your why. You know where you're going. You know who you are, who you're becoming. So I want to encourage you to go through this process, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of how difficult it is, because sometimes it's not easy to answer these questions. I want to encourage you to take the time to do this wiser program and to design the life and the person you want to become. I want you to comment below on what resonated with you. And just tell me some of your thoughts about what I talked about. I know from time to time you have faced naysayers and doubters. Tell me how you've handled it. I would love to know. And the other viewers would love to know as well. Remember, I believe that together we are stronger. So the more we can share, the better. So please leave your comments below. And also, my contact information is coming up. If you want a one-on-one with me, just head over to my website, ConstanceHowardLLC.com, and you can book an appointment there. I would love to challenge you. I would love to talk with you about some of the challenges that you may be facing. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you next week.